Hi guys, Michelle here. So today I wanted to share a tutorial all about one of the postures that many of my students struggle with, which is half lotus or even full lotus. In Sanskrit, this is called Padmasana, so you might hear teachers refer to it that way. But essentially, this is a deep hip opening posture, and it really is a beautiful pose if you can learn to do it, because it does make meditation a little bit more comfortable and conducive over time, because it's the perfect sort of pose to help us to sit with a really straight spine for longer periods of time. That being said, it is tricky, and there are some techniques that can help you to develop this posture over time in a safe way. And even if you're someone who finds it really easy to do right off the get-go, maybe you are one of these unicorn creatures that was born with the ability to do lotus, or actually a lot of times it's cultural. If you grew up in an Asian culture or a Middle Eastern culture, maybe an African culture, you might be used to doing postures like this where you sit cross-legged on the ground for many things throughout the day, or you're used to being in a squatting position, which also can help you to open your hips to make lotus a little bit easier. However, many of us, if you grow up in a Western culture, will find that your hips are quite stiff, and doing lotus will require lots of patience, lots of practice, lots of time to develop. So, the first thing is just be really patient with the process. But let's just say that we are going to work on this and we want to do it safely to protect our knee joints. So first of all, we can break it down into kind of simple steps. The first step of getting into half lotus or full lotus is going to be to close your knee joint, or what we call flexion of the knee. And so that essentially is just bringing the lower leg closer to the upper leg. So we get this closure of the knee joint here. It's called flexion. Now, we can do that and get into lotus. For example, I can do lotus pretty easily, but if I was going to get into lotus just the easiest way possible, it's actually not the healthy way, because if I grab my foot like this and I just sort of yank my foot up, it puts a little sort of, I don't know if you see it, but a little torque or a little twist into the knee. And this is the thing that causes problems over time for people with doing lotus. Even if they can do it really easily right away, if they do it that way, it creates some issues for that twisting in the knee. It puts pressure on the ligaments of the knee. So this is not the way we want to get into lotus, and especially grabbing from underneath like this, not necessarily such a safe way. So the way I suggest you try it is to come into the flexion of the knee really actively. So we start by letting the knee drop out to the side, and then keeping the foot close to the floor, we slide the foot up close to the hip, close to the groin. And this allows that flexion of the knee to happen, but without that torque and that twisting. It's a little bit more active and a little bit more safe to protect the joint. So that's step one, just coming into that flexion. This position is a yoga pose. It's called Janu Shirshasana, or head to knee. And you may recognize it. It's actually a great preparation pose for lotus. Okay, so step number one, flexion of the knee. Step number two is preparing the ankle by making it strong. So we're going to prepare the ankle by making it strong so that then we can pick the foot up and bring it into lotus safely by pointing the toes. So pointing rather than pulling the toes back. So I'm going to point my toes. That's going to make my ankle strong. And then I'm going to gather the top of the foot like this with my ankle strong. So the difference is that's not strong. That's actually called sickling the ankle. And over time, it can put pressure on the ligaments of your ankle. That's not good. So pointing the toes allows the ankle to be strong. I'm still flexing my knee joint here. I'm holding my foot from the top, and I'm going to slide my foot up the top of that opposite thigh to bring my foot into position. So I'll show you that again from the beginning. We do flexion of the knee joint, so I'm going to drop my knee up to the side. I'm going to keep my foot close to the floor so that I don't put that twist in my knee. My knee's gone out to the side. Then I'm going to make my ankle strong, take a hold of the top of the foot, and then slowly bring my foot in. There's another little tip here. If you notice my knee, it's come up and then it comes forward and down. So kind of like a rainbow. or a half moon shape. My knee is coming from the side and it's going up. So one more time, just to show you that a little bit more slowly. Bring my foot in, my knee into flexion, make my ankle strong, and now watch my knee. It's going to come up, forward, and down. And that places my foot really high on the opposite hip, so it's kind of sitting in that hip crease on the opposite side. Now to do the other foot, if I want to come into full lotus, I'm going to do similar process. So I'm going to let my knee drop out to the side. Again, I'm going to bring my foot in nice and close. That's creating that flexion of the knee joint. And then this time I'm going to take my foot up, the opposite leg, and slide it up my thigh. So it's just the same sort of process. Again, my ankle is strong, and then I slide it up. And then if I flex my feet, so I pull my toes back, it will sort of tighten this position to make it sit a little bit more comfortable and take some of the pressure off of my thighs. If you sit like this, where the ankles relax and the toes relax, it does tend to put a lot of pressure on your thighs, and this is one of the key sort of stumbling blocks for a lot of people, including myself, when they're learning Lotus, is feeling that real strong pressure on the thighs. So if you feel that pressure, it's normal. It goes away over time, but if you want to sort of accelerate that process, you're going to do this. You're going to pull your toes back and sort of reach out for your heels, and that will take the pressure off. So I hope that tutorial was helpful to break down Lotus or half Lotus for you guys. And yeah, enjoy. Thanks for watching. Namaste.